Walking down the avenue where we used to play. The house on the corner is still the same today as it was when we were children, innocent as innocent can be. I borrowed all your records, you borrowed mine from me. We sat and talked for hours in a box hung in a tree, and we stole your daddy's last bottle of gin. Those were the times, those were the ways. So take me back, so take me back to the good old days. Looking back from here, I can see that we were blind to the burdens we would shoulder and the struggles we would find. But growing made us strong as strong can be. Those were the times, those were the ways. So take me back, so take me back to the good old days. Ice cream until our heads hurt. We were trading candy bars and sticks of bubble gum, trying not to laugh in church. Do you remember? Like I remember. And oh, those were the times. Ooh, those were the ways. Oh, so take me back, take me back.
All right. Figured it out.
You're watching Escape Adulthood Live, your number one source for long-lasting, fast-acting, physician-approved adultitis relief.
On this week's show, we're talking about our favorite frozen treats, share a collaboration between Jason and our youngest child, and welcome a special guest to talk about the awesomeness of being different.
Greetings and salutations, everyone.
Thank you for shenanigating with us, and happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day.
Yes.
I guess we could say that every show.
Yeah, that's
Day.
part of the reason we wanted to have it on Wednesday, because it's just fun to say Happy Hump Day. One of these days we're going to have a camel in here.
That's when we get a really big budget. That'll be awesome.
We have some awesome people already here today. I see Gail and Cynthia and Mary and Leah and Amy and Nicole and Linda Kotecki. Who is that?
No relation. I'm glad we were able to get... I got to pull this up.
Oh, Carlo.
See? Not only does Carlo gets points, and I get points for that, right? Do I get points for that?
To pull it up. Thank you. Good to see you, Carlo.
Nice.
It's so nice to see you.
Good crew coming in here. So this is going to be a great show. We've got a special guest tonight we are excited about. We are a little sad because last Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, yesterday would have been the end of the 2020 Escape Adulthood Summit, which was not to be because of the COVID ridiculousness. So it was a little sad.
It was.
It was a little sad.
We definitely, I know Jenna's been busy putting up a whole bunch of cool alumni photos on Facebook. So if you're an alumni of the summit, please check out our Escape Adulthood Facebook page. Just scroll down at some point because she's been really busy digging out some cool treasures of memories to kind of get us through that. But
yeah, I got to say though, we got some exciting things coming.
Yes.
What we did instead on Monday and Tuesday, my parents watched the kids like they would have had we been at the summit.
Mm-hmm.
And Kim and I bunkered down and made some progress on our next big thing. We've been getting a lot of feedback from people who wanted to come to the summit and gave us some ideas like, what if you did this and what if you did that? And like, we have something awesome coming.
Yes,
and,
lots of hours have been put into this so far. So we're pretty excited. And we even have a launch date that we're not talking about.
Yeah, we can't really
yet.
say too much or we'd have to kill ourselves. But we'll
it's happening.
Keep
it's
you
happening.
posted. If you are interested, if that even sounds kind of interesting, make sure that you are an insider. That's basically the place where we tell everyone about everything. And you can sign up at escapeadulthood.com/insider.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have that
It's not
little
up tonight.
URL right here. Oh, here
Another
it is.
exciting thing.
Nope, that's not the one.
It's just
Here it is, that one.
escapeadulthood.com/insider.
Yeah, go there and
Sunday
find
morning emails. That's where all of our big news, gets released first. So
Yes. The other thing that's exciting is next week we will not be here. We're going to be on the road somewhere. And if
just
the
two of us,
internet gods play nicely, we will be doing our show from our location, undisclosed at this point.
Yes,
but it's going to be.
This is our
it's gonna be
20th
cool.
anniversary trip that we kind of hinted at a few weeks ago when we were all dressed up for our anniversary, and it's going to be pretty cool. We've been planning it out, so I think it's going to work out. But
yes,
and please go ahead and push share before we get going here. It's always exciting to see the new people that find out about our show when you guys do that. So thank you. If you could push share, that'd be great.
Yep, we got like I said, a special guest coming up. We also are doing a giveaway again tonight, and we're giving away this canvas tonight.
Yes.
This is
one of my favorites.
You're going to want to stick around for that. But first,
and now a word from our sponsors.
All right. Last week, you may remember our Shine On beach towel. But this week we have Different is Cool.
how cool is this at the beach? Now that beaches are opening up slowly but surely at different places around the country.
It makes me hungry.
We have, I think we have like 4 or 5 different beach towel designs at our store, shop.escapeadulthood.com. I don't know which one's my favorite, but it's kind of fun to show them off. And we had the Shine On one last week. We had a bunch of people that went ahead and ordered that, so we were grateful for that. Thank you.
Yes.
And if you're interested in checking out our wares, the website on the screen is the place to go.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Is it possible to be correct when all of the experts, like all of them, think you're nuts? This is Iggy. I'm going to call him Iggy. He's a doctor. Well, he's not anymore. You can probably tell he lived a while ago. But when he was alive and well, he was a doctor, he was a scientist, and he had a situation. There was a case where there was a very high mortality rate of women who had given birth. And he was trying to figure out what was causing this problem. And he knew there had to be a reason, but he had no idea what it was. Finally, after a lot of trial and error, he got to a point where he figured out a simple practice that was very easy to do. And when it was followed, it actually saved lives. Now, the problem is all of his colleagues rejected his idea completely. They ridiculed him. They branded him a quack, and he ended up being confined to a mental institution where he died 14 days after being admitted, after being beaten by the guards. His idea worked. His problem was he couldn't explain why. His solution was too out there, too unorthodox, too different from what the experts were used to. What's so threatening about different. Can you imagine getting in your car and turning on the radio and listening to the same song on every single station? Or could you imagine going to a restaurant where you only had this one thing on the entire menu? Could you imagine queuing up Netflix and realizing the only thing to binge watch was one show? I think we could all agree that a life with no options would be very boring indeed. Different is cool, except when it comes to things that challenge our beliefs or question our long-held assumptions. So our brain is a really cool thing. Our brain is engineered to be a pattern recognition machine. We are built to notice changes, differences in our environment, which can help us. So if it's a normal day and then we happen to notice some big clouds coming in, that is a signal to us that a storm might be coming and we may want to seek shelter. We might be driving along the road and it's like normal. Then we happen to see what looks like an accident up at the up a few miles, and that gives us a signal that we might want to slow down. Or maybe we're camping and we see a lion and there's a signal right there. The lion's not supposed to be here. I might want to avoid that, right? We notice breaks in the pattern and make a prejudgment to feel safe or prepared. Well, lately we've been struggling with this often helpful but sometimes not so helpful feature of our brain, which is noticing differences and making snap judgments. We've been conditioned by watching after-school specials that if we feel prejudice, that prejudice is bad, and if we feel prejudice, then we should experience these feelings of guilt and shame. Well, I will be forever grateful for my friend Jessica, who is a speaker, a former comedian, and a diversity trainer. And she told a room full of people I was fortunate enough to be in the audience for. She said that we don't need to feel guilty about these snap judgments and assumptions that we make because, again, the brain is doing them automatically. And they can be useful, like I just talked about. What matters, she said, is what we do with those assumptions. So her tip was, when you write that story about something new, print it as a draft. Triple-spaced, extra-wide margins. Why? Because you're anticipating edits. So coming back to my buddy Iggy, also known as Ignaz Semmelweis. So you might be wondering, what was his crazy, unorthodox, out there idea that everyone thought was crazy? Well, it was prepare yourself. I mean, you're not even going to believe that this is like, who could come up with this? This is so crazy. It was the idea that doctors should wash their hands. That was it. This was before, however, Louis Pasteur had done his research on germ theory. And after Iggy died, there were scientists, of curious people who did some research and dug into his claims and his theories. And finally, thankfully, his theories gained wide acceptance after he passed away, once we figured out there were these little tiny things called germs that no one could see. The other thing that Semmelweis inspired is a thing called the Semmelweis Reflex, which is a metaphor for a certain type of human behavior characterized by reflex-like rejection of new knowledge because it contradicts entrenched norms, beliefs, or paradigms. Can any of us relate to this right now, where we have certain things we believe or come to understand, and then new data comes at us or a new claim that conflicts with what we've believed, and it's really easy to completely ignore it and think of it as some crackpot idea. Now, sometimes crackpot ideas are crackpot ideas, but the important thing is to learn the lesson from Iggy and his colleagues. Were the experts jerks because they immediately thought his idea was off the wall? No. They were jerks because they didn't leave enough room for edits to the original story that they had of him. Unfortunately, they could have decided to be open-minded, to look for data, to do experiments, to listen more of like, why do you think this? And actually listen to his idea and see where it led. They didn't. And that could have saved hundreds or thousands of lives. So what I think is a really good exercise, this is always a good thing, is to spend time exploring a point of view that is the complete opposite of what you're used to. If you watch a certain news channel, watch the other one. Read books, read a documentary, or listen to, you don't really read documentaries, listen to a documentary. Listen to this, have a conversation with a real human person, not a Facebook fight or a flame war. Just talk. Just have a conversation with someone who looks at things differently. Not to necessarily convince them of your side or to be convinced of what they think, but just to have a dialogue. That's where the problem is sometimes, is we get so outraged because of what I think is this Semmelweis reflex. Now, again, our brains are amazing. They're pretty darn great at exploring a point of view and noticing differences and making assumptions based on those. A more constructive alternative to wishing that our brains weren't good at that might be to figure out whether or not those assumptions and prejudices that our brain feeds us are actually serving us. And if they're not, to act accordingly. What would be the most helpful thing of all for us to do is to anticipate edits.
Well, we had some folks in the chat who were guessing the hand washing. Some people knew this story. Christina and Mary, they're like, hand washing.
Yeah, so this is a pretty popular thing. I'm sure anyone in healthcare would know the story. And it's, right. I still remember the first time I heard it. I'm just like, it's weird because again, in retrospect, it's sort of like the people who thought like the world was flat, right? And you're like, what an idiot. But like, that's where you bring it to like now, like, I think we all do it to some extent. Like anytime we're challenged by something that's different, rather than explore it, we're like afraid, like, well, I might be wrong. Like, what does that say about me? And I'm an idiot. And it's like, these experts weren't idiots because they had built upon a knowledge of what they knew. Like that wasn't dumb to have that thing, but sometimes we get new data, new information that can change things. So
I like Barb's comment, if you want to pull it up there.
This one here?
Yeah. Be open-minded? No way. Right?
I like that.
It is not a popular thing right now. Or
no, it's
common,
not.
Or, something you're seeing all over the place.
Right.
There's a lot of straight line thinking.
Yeah, Christina says it's like George on Seinfeld. Do the opposite. I like that. Things were going so bad for him. He's like, I'm just going to do the opposite. And everything that he did, yeah.
Life by George, right?
Exactly. is good stuff. So, so along these lines, we wanted to bring on a special guest to help us hash out some of these ideas about being different. All right, so we've got a good friend of ours, Ryan Hack, that will be pulling up here.
Adultitis Fighter.
He's an Adultitis Fighter. Ryan believes that being different is awesome. He's got a book here.
It's like one of our
This has been out for quite a while now, but it is one of our favorites in our family. Ryan is a speaker and author, and he has shared his message with children and adults of all ages at schools, hospitals, corporations, things like that. Through storytelling and humor, Ryan shares his journey of growing up with one hand and overcoming challenges he encounters on a daily basis, living in a world designed for people with two hands. He also talks about the surprising simplicity of building community and the truth that our differences, the things that make us unique, are the very things that make us awesome. Hello, Ryan. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great.
Thanks for being here.
Good to see you guys.
So glad that you could
I'm super excited.
Could join us. Thanks for being here.
course.
Where to begin? I guess I do enough interviews. I've been interviewed. I always hate, but you have to start with the obvious things. So I'm sure you've been asked this 7 bajillion times. Tell us about the book. Where did it come from? Why did you write it?
Yeah, your whole movement, right?
Tell us where it started, because it is awesome, and I'm sure there's people that are new, and that's we want to be able to shine that light on you.
For sure. No, that's great. I've only been asked that question maybe 3 times. Well, we'll go. Before I say that, I just want to say real quick, I watched last week, and I right now am firmly in the soda camp. I know.
Oh, yes.
No,
but here's the thing. There's more to it though, because I grew up in a pop house. I grew up here in the Midwest. We called it pop all the time. That's how I knew it. Okay. So I can't even remember when it changed to soda. I can't remember. So I feel like it must have been when I got more money, right? I feel like that.
When you got more
money?
Then I got fancy, and then I started with soda. But I do remember going to Texas once to visit family, and you're right. They called everything Coke, and I was so confused. Right. I was like, I don't want Coke, but I call everything. So anyway.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't see last week's show and they're like, what? We had a huge debate. Team Kim versus Team Jason on soda versus pop. Obviously pop, soda. So anyway, I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan. Let's change the subject quickly.
I figured you might. So yes, the quick story is, so if you can't see, so here's my left arm. This is where my hand would be. It's not there. I was born that way. I know, it's it's a magic trick. But it was a surprise to everyone. The doctors, my parents, nobody knew I was going to be born with one hand. And so they kind of freaked out a little bit right away. But then the doctors let me go home, and everything from then on was just kind of normal. At least that's the way I kind of went through life. I think my parents, my relatives, my friends, my teachers, everyone kind of treated me just like anyone else. And so for me, having one hand didn't bother me that much. I was just a kid who loved sports. I played everything, very active. Anything any other kid could do, I could do. I just figured out a way to do it. And that's, the book that you have there, it talks a lot about that. But then flash forward till I was in my early 30s. I was actually having dinner at Culver's by my house, and I saw this woman walk in with her son who had an arm like mine. And it was kind of the first time I had seen someone like me in my own community. It wasn't something I paid attention to normally. I didn't look around scanning the room for people with one hand. I didn't really care about that. But noticing him so close to where I lived was a big deal. And we kind of made eye contact and whatever. And then as I was leaving, the mom essentially grabbed him and ran after me and just kind of presented us to each other. And, it was just, you could tell it was a big deal for her to see someone like her son, who I'm sure she probably hadn't seen before, at least not in her own community, her own neighborhood. And so it was really kind of at that moment where I was like, if I can provide that much relief and inspiration to her just by eating by myself, I think maybe I could do something more intentional. And so I started at that point trying to think about what is it that I could do? How can I use my voice to help? Because I really didn't know. Like I said, my life up to that point, I felt was pretty normal. I wasn't picked on. I wasn't bullied. I didn't struggle with things. I wasn't embarrassed. And so I was like, what are these things that people struggle with? So I had to find that out first, and then made a website called livingonehanded.com, and started writing about what's it like to live as a person with a physical difference. I remember one of the first things I wrote was how do I deal with being stared at? And it just really connected with people. And that was the thing I heard a lot from parents was, my kid doesn't seem to care, but it drives me nuts, And it was like, how do I deal with that? And so I was just able to share my experience, and I'm just one person. It's just my experience. Other people deal with it differently, but it just was a good way for me to kind of get that out. And then, I made videos about how I do things with one hand, and they're all kind of funny, and just to make people laugh, but also especially to help parents who have kids who have one hand, just to say, hey, look, it's possible. Like, your kid will figure it out. Don't worry. And then the book, which I have a copy here as well, kind of came from it's actually a true story. For those of you who are unfamiliar, one of my younger brothers, my brother Joey, 1 year in elementary school, his teacher told him to bring something cool for show and tell. And so he brought me. He's like, this is my brother. He has one hand. What do you got? the kids ask me questions.
Drop, right?
Right, exactly.
Best show and tell ever.
So that's the story, kind of.
Yeah, nice Star Wars
so it
guy,
retells
buddy.
that story.
Yeah.
So it retells that story. And as you go along, you realize that each of his classmates who are asking his brother questions, that there's something different about them as well. And so by the end of it, you realize that we're all different in some way or another. And that's something to celebrate. That's something that is awesome. And it isn't something to be afraid of. It isn't something to kind of hold at bay or to exclude people. But it's something to embrace, like I said. And so it's been awesome to see it connected. It came out actually 5 years ago in July. It'll be 5 years. It's on its fourth printing. There are like 10,000 copies out in the world. And I get to travel to schools and, like I said, hospitals and businesses and stuff like that, to kind of share that message. And it's been amazing. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the kids and like what I've learned from my experience going to elementary schools and doing these assemblies. But even more so for me, not more rewarding, but rewarding in a different way, is when I talk to adults, because we need to hear this too. And I'm finding that more and more, that we don't think we're awesome and we don't think our differences are awesome. And so to see adults kind of admit that, maybe, and say, yeah, I don't like, I mean, I've had grown men and women come and cry on my shoulder after giving a presentation.
Wow.
Because of things you wouldn't guess, because of things like wearing glasses. Like, I've been so embarrassed that I have to wear glasses that they're crying about it.
Wow.
And they say, wow, you've helped me to see that isn't a bad thing and that it's okay. And like, it blows me away every time that happens. But it's just something that I've seen over and over, that we like to think we have it together as adults, and that, yeah, of course, different is awesome. But deep down, I think most of us struggle. If there's something different about us, it hangs on, man. And so it's been a joy to be able to kind of speak to that. So
that's cool. Yeah, I like that you brought that up, because you're like, oh yeah, different is awesome and all that, but it's like, but my different is bad.
Right.
Like, that's like not my different, not my brand, right? So that's cool. And I would love to hear what you have learned, particularly from the kids, from the students. I know, and I think we'll talk more about the adults later after that too, because I think that's a cool angle. But man, I feel like you watch the news, you just see what's going on, and you're like, man, can we just get some kids to like tell us how to act, because we're not doing a very good job. And I just, it would be kind of neat to hear, what are some of the things that you've noticed about kids, things they've taught you, or how they react to differences, both when they see you, or what you've seen them react to other people who are different, and what they're telling you.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And like, I love, like, it's one of those things where most people, I think, don't understand why I enjoy going and standing in front of like 300 third graders. Like,
that's torture for some.
Right. Oh my God.
Here that you love that. I remember standing behind this crowd. It was like 500 kids, And a friend of mine was a teacher at the school, and she was like, "Aren't you like super nervous?" And I was like, "I probably should be, right?" Like, but it's one of those things where like that's my home. Like I feel so at home in front of them because I feel like I get them. And so some of the things that you said, that the thing you started with about our brains and how they work is so true. And it's so interesting to see it developing in kids, because they have not had the amount of life that we have to have those things ingrained in us. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm 40, I think I'm 42. I think that's right. That's sad. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I've had 42 years of believing certain things, right? And so, like you said, when I'm confronted with something that's different than that, it's incredibly challenging to change that. Whereas for a first grader, they don't have that amount of time that they're changing things. And so one of the things that I love about going and just getting in front of them, like at a school, is just that, being in front of them and having them see someone who they haven't seen before, right? Most of these kids probably haven't seen someone with one hand. And so they have these preconceived notions about what I'll be like or what I can do, or that they should be sad for me, or, so many kids, like their first reaction is surprise, like, whoa. But then also I hear so many kids go, oh, because they're sad. Like, oh, he's broken. Like that's what they're thinking. He doesn't have two hands like everybody else. That's so sad for him. And so I get to go and show them how I swing a bat, how I play catch, how I catch a football, how I play basketball, how I jump rope, like, and tell them these stories and show them these things. And they're immediately like, wait, oh, okay. No, so he can do like all the stuff that I can do. He just does it differently, And so I very specifically challenge them to address that, to say, sometimes when we see someone come in the room and let's say they're in a wheelchair or they're blind and they have to use a seeing stick or something, like our initial thought might be to feel bad or to think, oh, they probably can't do the same things that I can do. And I challenge them to say, well, you've seen me do all this stuff. And so let's try to think differently. Let's say there's someone just like me. They happen to be in a wheelchair, but I'm curious about how they do certain things, right? Like that must be pretty cool. And so trying to like rewire those things to say that different isn't sad, different isn't scary. It's just different. And in fact can be awesome. I have this friend, Josh, who he's missing both arms and both legs. And I was hanging out with him once when I was at this conference in Boston. And also, I just want to acknowledge the fact I realize I have one hand and I speak with my hands more than most people. I get it. So whenever I'm speaking things, I'm like, sorry, I can't do a handheld mic. It's got to be hell. Like, let's just get this out. But I remember I was following him around this one day just because I wanted to see how he did things. And he was like, at one point he realized, he was like, are you just following me around? And I was like, yes. It's amazing. I love watching you do stuff. And he was just like, that's annoying, but also kind of funny. And so yeah, those are, the things with kids. It's just so great to see kind of to be, for me to be able to help lay that foundation and help them, because at this point it's still formulating, right? Like they're still figuring stuff out. So it's not even that they're necessarily changing what they believe at this point. They're still forming that. And so that I get to come in and help them to lay that foundation of saying that different is not only okay, different is awesome, is just really rewarding for me. And I get messages of just my friend Anthony actually the other day sent me a text and said he has two daughters, and his younger daughter noticed this guy who had one leg and said, Daddy, that guy has one leg. And her older sister said, yeah, isn't that awesome? Just like Uncle Ryan says, different is awesome. And so like it's in there somewhere. Like they're applying it to actual life, which is super cool. So yeah, I love that part of what I get to do. And I had this one other kid, one of my favorite responses ever was, they also have very interesting questions, kids do, because they know they want to ask something, but they're not sure what to ask. They're like, I know something is not right here, but I don't know what to ask to correct it. So he came up and he just had this puzzled look on his face, and he goes, "How do you eat?" And I said, "Well, I just use this hand. Like I use my fork and my spoon. I use this hand." And he just looked at me and just went, "Huh? You want to go play?" Like that was it. So like all mysteries have been dispelled.
I wish all of the questions of the universe could be that straightforward.
I can eat.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yep.
That's good.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about, like, I know when we talked before, we're friends, we've talked about things. I know Kim was talking to you the other day, and one of the things that she said you talked about that I thought would be neat to bring up is the idea that parents, like when I talked earlier in the monologue about leaving room for edits, leaving room in the margins, and the sense that sometimes parents who have a child who is born differently in one way or the other, that they maybe need to adjust their story that they have of their child or what their child can expect, and that you provide inspiration for that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Before you answer, if anyone has any questions for Ryan, he'll be with us for a few more minutes, so feel free. There's a little delay, so make sure those questions come in a little bit too, because some of the comments here are tying into that already. So,
all right. Yeah, no, that's great. I love questions, so throw them at me. Yeah, I think parents, I mean, listen, parenting advice is like nearly impossible for anybody, right? Everyone has a different philosophy and method of parenting and all that kind of stuff. So then add in a kid who has a physical difference, and it becomes even more complex. And so I think that my main thing, like what I tell parents, is I feel like the more that you treat them like anybody else, the more you're setting them up for success. While not what's the word I'm looking for? Not neglecting the fact that they are different, because they are. Like, so just ignoring the fact that I have one hand is also not helpful.
Right.
So acknowledging it, but then embracing it and just saying, hey, well, what are the things that you want to do? All right, figure out a way to do that, you know? And I think that kids follow their parents' lead, right? I think we all kind of know that. And so, yeah, the example of a kid falling down and scraping their knee, and you see that look on their face, they're about to cry. And you, as a parent, if you freak out, they're going to freak out. If you are like, hey, that was awesome, they're confused. They'll generally be like, oh, okay, all right, well, whatever. But the same, you know, when we do that with our kids. And so it's like, if I'm constantly creating this narrative for my child that they are different and it's bad, and that everyone needs to cater to them, and that they should expect something different than other people, I feel like we're doing a disservice to them. And so as parents, when we have that situation, how, you know, if we have other kids, how do we treat our other kids? You know, just how do we parent in general? And I get it that it's different. I remember my dad said that his initial reaction was not good because very active. He was a strong, athletic, active. That's who he was. And I think his initial thought was like, how is he going to do anything? Which is common. I get those emails probably every week. I get emails from parents who say, we were so worried and sad because we were like, well, how are they going to do anything? And then found your page and we watched your videos, and now we're like, oh, he'll be fine.
You know? How will he eat?
That's my whole goal. Yeah, even my dad said that his mom, my grandma, he said she took you away from me and made me go take a walk. And then when I came back, she said, Calvin, relax. He's going to be great. Everything's going to be fine. Settle down. And I appreciate that she did that for him. But it is one of those things where I always say to acknowledge and embrace the difference because it's real, and there will be real challenges that come with it, but also not making it a negative thing. So I even know that in my own life. I mean, I've done this now for 42 years, and I still have instances where I'm self-conscious, or I'll drop something at the store and I'll immediately think, oh no, all these people think I'm incompetent, that I can't carry things because I only have one hand. When in reality, none of them care, right? Nobody's looking at me or thinking that, but it gets in my head. So trying to even get those things out of my own head, and it's not all the time, of course, but from time to time it'll creep in. So I think parenting. I have 3 kids of my own. A junior, a sophomore, and an 8th grader. And so I know that parenting is really hard. But I think it's, if we do our best and we stick to what our philosophy of parenting is, you can't go wrong. And if you make a mistake, you apologize and you move forward.
That's great.
So.
Well, we do have a very important question.
I know it.
Suzanne.
Be prepared for this.
She wants to know why you're wearing a Brewers hat. Go Cubs, go! Inquiring minds, Ryan. I don't know.
Sorry.
So here's the deal. I'm wearing the Brewers hat because I am a Brewers fan, but I did wear his shirt.
I know, right?
It works out. It balances out.
And I also said soda. So
that's true.
I feel like 2 out of 3.
Come on.
I had to bring that up because we do live in Wisconsin, and I'm not usually a lot of Cub fans, so any chance I get,
that's true.
You could tell we do a lot of speaking in Illinois because we do have Illinois friends.
Yeah. We'll probably start a civil war in the comments now between Brewers and Cardinals and White Sox.
And I will
say,
there's
no baseball being played right now, people.
That's why it's all pent up. It's all.
I will say this hat. I think I've worn this hat literally every day of quarantine. So probably since March 11th, I bet I've worn this hat literally every single day.
Is there like a hopeful, like baseball will still be played kind of thing going?
No, I just don't want to deal with my hair. I don't want to deal with combing my hair. I actually got it cut the other day for the first time, and I bought more like product, and I was like, I don't even remember how to use this. I literally think I've used it once in 3 months.
Well, just to have equal time here, we've got Mike has got to go Brewers.
There you go. Yeah.
And Angela. Go Cardinals.
Angela. Cardinals. We can all agree to disagree on that.
Let's team up, Ryan. We're both against that, right?
Exactly.
That's all right.
Oh, we love you, Angela.
Well, okay. Last real thing. We definitely want people to go to livingonehanded.com. I assume was that where you've been doing more recent videos in the pandemic,
Facebook?
or is that on Facebook or Instagram where you're showing like how do you float? How do you do a kayak? How do you
cut carrots?
How do people find out?
So I would say probably the thing that is updated the most would be, so I'm at Living One Handed on Instagram, and then facebook.com/Living One Handed. Those are probably the 2 places that I update the most. I do have, this is way out there, but I am on TikTok as well. All my kids are on TikTok, and I was like, I'm crashing your party. But I do have one on there it's at Healthy One Handed. And it's been like my health journey over the last, we're on day 73 now of that. So I do like a 1-minute thing every day where I just kind of give an update on how things are going. And that's been super helpful for me. So if you're maybe in the same boat and need some encouragement or something, check that out. But yeah, the Living One Handed stuff for sure would be Facebook and Instagram would be the main places that I update the most.
Cool.
Well, we just love you, Ryan, and your enthusiasm and passion for your work. It shines. And that's what I've been seeing in the comments as I've been peeking over there of like, thank you for doing what you do. And I know a couple of teachers are on, so they're like
got
excited.
Some special ed teachers and
excited for this new take to be able to bring into their classrooms. So
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I was going to say is that, I do the speaking stuff. If people are interested, let me know. We can figure something out. But kind of the overarching theme for me lately, I was like, what is my core thing? Like, what am I trying to say to people? What different is awesome, and that whole thing. And it really comes down to like, you matter. Like, I feel like people need to know that they matter, and I feel like a lot of people right now feel like they don't matter. And so that really for me is just the biggest thing. Like, it doesn't take much to let someone know that they matter to you. So whatever that means for you, whether it's writing a card, I've been sending out like postcards that have living one-handed stuff on it to just friends of mine to tell them that I appreciate them, a phone call, a text, whatever. Just let people know that they matter. I just think it's such a huge thing, especially right now. People want to know that. We all want to feel like we matter. And it's pretty easy to let people know that they do. So that's where I'm at right now.
Very cool. I can get behind that for sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Ryan. This has been a blast. People are saying how glad that you're here and what you're doing. So keep up the good work. Angela says you matter. So that's awesome.
And she was the one that Cardinal fan.
Yeah.
So
So
let's just
redeeming
acknowledge
quality.
her resiliency.
Terrible. Really? Okay.
I kid because I love. All right, Ryan. Thank you so much for being
Love you
with us
guys.
tonight. Keep up the great work. Okay, buddy.
Yes. Yep. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
See you soon. Awesome, right? Oh my gosh, that was dense with awesomeness.
Yes,
Awesomeness?
you know what? Something he said about at the end there about you matter. I mean, it reminds me of I don't know if it was last week or the week before, talking about hurt people. If you remember talking about that, and that's part of where that comes from. Is like people don't feel like they matter. They feel like they're ignored. They feel like whatever. And it might just be the neighbor next door that like you don't realize how lonely they are, or
especially right now.
Yeah, so there's.
Well, Jason, you wrote a really powerful post about the Joker movie. I don't know when that came out. Was it winter of 2019? Like before the holidays.
Yeah.
And so if you've missed that, just go to escapeadulthood.com and put in the search box like the Joker. It was super powerful, and it was really that concept of like when people don't feel like they're seen, that they don't matter, there are some consequences.
Bad things can happen.
Right.
So, but the cool thing is we all can do that. We can all look at who's in our circle, who's around us, maybe someone we haven't never talked to, but just notice something good and tell them. I think that's one of the things I tell teachers all the time when I speak at schools is like the people who had the biggest impact in my life were teachers who noticed things about me, whether it was my art or creative writing or something like that. And they told me. And that's the thing is like we downplay our strengths because our strengths are usually we can do it well and we can do it easy. And so we think it's not special. So when people call out the things that you would think are obviously talents and they know they're talents, but they don't. Yeah. Like we need people to notice good things and tell us. And that really has an impact more than we know. So
speaking of that, we're going to share a little bit about Saturday.
Yeah, so we did something fun. Me and Ro, what were you guys doing during that time? You were cutting the grass.
This summer, the kids are learning to cut the grass, Ben and Lucy. So I was helping assist in that project. And these two, Ro and Jason, you guys, she's been wanting to draw with you. Mm-hmm. And here's how it went down.
And I say, no, not today.
The art lessons, the kids have been really enjoying the art lessons, the Let's Draw segment here in the show. And so Ro has been watching all those because we have them segmented out. So if you want to go to our YouTube channel, you can watch all of just those. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so I said to her the one day, you know what, since daddy is your daddy, you could always just ask him to show you to draw anything. Like if you were like curious about drawing something really specific, he would do that. So then this became a date.
Yeah, so she just came up with a list of things she wanted me to teach her how to draw. So we did that. And then she came up with a thing that we haven't done in a long time. But I totally recommend this for anyone with kids. Heck, I recommend doing this as a date night.
It's
all right?
hilarious.
Is basically you get a piece of paper and one person draws a shape or something simple, and then the other person adds to it, and then you just go back and forth. And so I have an example here of what we did, and she started out with a shape down in the bottom left corner, that cat octopus hula dancer unicorn. That just started out kind of like
as a unicorn too.
Yeah, there's a unicorn in there. It started out with this just blob shape kind of a thing. And I don't remember what I added to it, but she was the one who added the little nose with the mouth.
Aww.
And then I made it a cyclops.
Oh my gosh.
And then we just, we added things. And then I added like the little cup of coffee on one of the tentacles. And it's funny because like it just was really this sort of free-form thing that she'd say something, like add something, and then immediately I'd add something, and then she'd add something, and then we'd be kind of stuck. And so then we'd kind of like add a whole new thing. And you can see it. It's hilarious. And there would be times I'd be like, what is that? And then she'd tell me, and I'd be like, oh, okay. And it was, I have to say, it was fun.
This is one of my most fun things to do with the kids, because I don't know about you, but when you have little kids, sometimes the brain waves of where they want to play. And this is, there's different ages that this happens more than others, but you're just like, oh, this is so boring. And like, you just go crazy. Where this activity is actually very creative, engaging for both the adult and the child.
It's very stimulating. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it kind of gets you like wanting to fill the whole page, which it looks like you guys
did. So it was fun. And like I said, it's kind of a cool thing to share, because this is something we could do this on a date. Maybe we might do this next week when we're away from the kids and stuff, but it's a lot of fun. So have fun with that. Speaking of art, we have, as usual, we've been getting a lot of submissions from people from last week. We drew this Shine On thing. This is Jill and her contribution. And we had Kristen here. She's been doing the Post-it notes.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm not sure if she's done every week, but she's been pretty consistent on having different Post-it notes. And then Kara was another one. We can't highlight everyone's all the time, but Kara had metallic crayons, which added a little vibe to it.
Yeah,
so
it's got a neat little, I love the little cheeks, are so cute there.
Yeah. So thank you guys for sending all those in. And it's weird. I think I said at the beginning of the coronavirus thing that like I actually have gotten to a point where I am looking forward to being in a TSA line.
Which
and
will be
where
happening.
We're going next week, we have to fly there.
We get to go through TSA.
And we are, this is how ready we are, is we're just like, just let the plane get here. We're ready to go. So
we'll get there 6 hours early if we need to.
We are, yes. I don't care if I have to wear a mask. I don't care. We have to sit rows apart. I don't know. It's gonna be
we're
quite
gonna
an
fly
experience,
somewhere.
but
It's gonna be amazing.
we are looking forward to it for sure. Okay, so let's talk about drawing something fun here. This is going to be a fairly quick one, but actually one of my most fun things to draw. So what we're going to do, I think I'm not going to tell you what we're drawing until we're just going to do it. So hopefully those of you who are regulars, you're already ready to go with a pen or crayon or colored pencil or marker or something. So what we're going to do is we'll start off with kind of a flat oval at the top, like that. Just a little squished oval. And then I'm going to make some lines right down like that.
Is this toilet paper?
This is a empty roll of toilet paper.
The saddest thing of coronavirus.
It's like, no! Right?
It was the last roll.
Oh, it feels like such a long time ago. This could be a 2-in-1 drawing. This is a start for toilet paper, or if you go about a third of the way down, and I'm going to do another one of these curvy lines, okay? And then I'm going to draw a little tiny rectangle, a really skinny rectangle down here. This is going to be the stick. And I'm going to just color in the very top here that gives it a little bit of a shadow. And Can't not have
We got guesses.
smile. Okay. Now we're going to jump into the color here. Yeah, this is probably pretty obvious what's going on here now.
Why has it been so many years since we've eaten one of these? Are they hard to find, or have we just not been looking?
That's a good question. Now that I've always, when I was a kid, I used to get like sherbet all the time. Sherbet, sorbet. I don't know. People have different names for it. So you get the little orange, that perfect orange yellow of a push-up. And then for the little spots down here, you could do whatever you want. Sort of like the snow cone a couple weeks ago. We've been on quite a rampage of doing frozen treats.
Sugary, sweet treats.
But
right?
I like to do little circle or little circles.
Yeah, that's cute.
A little bit.
Do you guys know, like, comment, can we still get these pretty easily, or is it something I want to go check,
I feel
immediately?
Immediately.
I gotta go.
Leaves. She just leaves. She's gone.
I'm really inspired now.
All right. So that's basically, this is really easy, but that's the thing, is sometimes you just need someone to break it down.
Cassie Joe, you are so right. She said,
What'd she
now
say?
that's a pop.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Come on.
You're giving her credit there that she's...
I don't know.
See, you're converting.
Holy nightmare.
You're converting to Team Jason, and I love it.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Little highlight.
I'm just trying to process that.
What else? I did see, who was it last week? There's a couple people that emailed us and told us that they downloaded Procreate, which is the app that I'm using here.
I think Helen.
And I'm sure it costs money, but it's not that expensive. But it's for the iPad.
I think she said she wanted to get is this a stylus now?
Oh yeah, this is just an Apple Pencil, but we got some different ones for kids, I think. And they're not Apple Pencils. They were a lot cheaper. There's a lot of different ones out there. Yeah.
Cassie just laughing.
All right.
I tell you.
So there you go. There's your little push up. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to see what you guys come up with. You can,
or just pictures of you eating push-ups. I just want to see if they exist out in the world anymore.
Yeah, we'll put those on the show if you send them to us.
Here's your just excuse to go buy one, because we've asked you to. So so they definitely will. Yeah, if you did a drawing here, send it to KJ at escapeadulthood.com. We would love to feature it on the show next week. Hopefully, like I said, we're not going to be in the studio, so we're going to have different things going on, and we may not have all of the features and bells and whistles we're used to, but it's going to be rad. So let's go on. Okay, so for this week's studio sneak peek, last week you did a little video of some of the art that I've been making for people. Yes, you've been
in conjunction with the summit. So for the people who have graciously let us know that they want to be with us at the Escape Adulthood Summit next year, one of the things that we did as a little special thank you for sticking with us was I offered to do some personal artwork for people, and I don't do that very often, but I've been busy with that. And last week we showed some of the trading cards of the Pop Culture People series that I've been doing. And so a lot of people did portraits of themselves, which I don't have any examples of that because they're not as fun to look at if you don't know who they are. But there are also some more celebrity ones.
Yes.
So this is one of this is Jamie from Outlander, I think it's called. I don't watch the show, but this is now the second version of Jamie that I have done. So he's kind of fun because he's got the little kilt there. Someone wanted Ronald McDonald, so that one I really like how he turned out. He's pretty cute, and that's one of my favorite things about this is you have such a limited amount of things. I mean, like, it's kind of appropriate we had Ryan on because these have no hands, no feet, no legs.
They're little people.
And so it's like I have a very limited language is what I call it. to convey this person's likeness. And so, Ronald McDonald was a little bit of a challenge. This was a challenge too. This is Stephen King.
Oh, that one's pretty
and
cool.
I don't,
Subtle.
I can't.
I know. I wonder if
it's hard to see exactly what's going on here, but he was a tough one because Stephen King. I got like some little purple drips to kind of make it look a little morbid and creepy. This one might be my favorite. I put this on Instagram recently. This is Frida Kahlo. She was fun to do with her colorful dress and flowers and stuff. And then someone requested Tinkerbell. And so I made a Tinkerbell. She requested a specific size for a very specific frame that she had. So I decided to honor that. So that has been really kind of fun being able to do those. And I'll eventually scan them and I'll put them online so people can see them. But
your cousin Andrew, hi. He says he wants to see one of your dad.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah, that would be hilarious.
And I think Lynn was excited. She thought maybe she was going to see hers because she does have.
No, I'm keeping Lynn in suspense, but it's done. It's done, Lynn. Bucky Badger. I have done Bucky Badger. I did that as an oil painting at Wonder Hunt.
Amy owns that, doesn't
yes,
she? Amy Payne.
I think Amy Payne. Is she
here?
She
was on earlier.
Yeah. Rachel says Frida is my favorite one.
It turned out really cool.
So it's going to be
fun to see.
Cool to do, and I can't wait to get them out to people. It'll be a while because I'm still finishing up details, even though they're technically done. There's little bits and bobs I have to finish with varnishing and things like that. But we're getting close, and I wanted to share that with you. And then when those are all done, which I'm hoping by the end of this week, I'll have that done, and then it'll be on to some brand new paintings, which I'm also excited for.
Yeah.
So, giveaway time. Thank you to everyone who is still here, who has waited.
Yeah.
Who has, and by the way.
Last week's winner.
Yeah. In just a second. The thing I wanted to share is share this. We depend on people like you telling people like, this is good. This is a good thing. You need to watch this, or passing along the weekly insider that we put out. Like, we are so grateful when you can do that. And even though we're getting to the end of the show, as soon as it's over, it'll be a replay. So if you can, anytime, sharing on Facebook, sharing on Instagram, any of that stuff, we really appreciate it. And last week's we gave away a towel, right? Shine On towel,
beach towel, and this really turned out kind of neat. The winner of last week's giveaway was Lisa Marie Carilli McCord. And Lisa Marie, I did contact her this morning, and she said her classroom theme has like a sunshine theme.
Wow.
So she was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So thank you, Lisa Marie, for kind of being a part of it last week. And for this week.
Yeah, we're giving this is a 16 by 20. This is a canvas gallery print. It's really rad. And
the colors are
we
super
sell
bright.
these on our website, of course, but this one we're giving away. And we only give away prizes to people who are here live. We love the people who watch replay, but to carve out time out of your busy time to be here when we're here, we really appreciate that. So
looks like answers are coming in already. What's your favorite frozen treat? What do we got this week? What are you guys thinking?
Chocolate ice cream cake with chocolate ganache. That was very specific. Yes. I like that. Peanut butter and chocolate ice cream.
Ooh, yummy.
Strawberry sorbet for
refreshing.
Angela.
Matches
what do we get
her hair.
Dairy-free coconut milk chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream.
Whoa, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Good humor chocolate eclair ice cream. I like that.
I would try that.
We got Adam says chocolate. It's just like it's like the exact opposite of the dairy-free coconut. It's like, dude, just chocolate.
Willy Wonka,
just chocolate.
right?
Oh, here we go.
Dilly Bar.
Tell the Dilly Bar story.
Oh, it's kind of long, but long story short, we went out for ice cream.
It's not that long.
We went out for ice cream as kids, and my parents were like, why don't we get a box of Dilly Bars? And for some reason I had it in my mind I was going to pick like one of the 31 flavors at Baskin Robbins or something, because I always liked but we got a box of Dilly Bars, and I was a little disappointed. But come to find out, as of last year, because the kids, I was telling them this story about expectations and being grateful. And we went and bought a box of Dilly Bars, and they're amazing. So
Go figure.
It was all about the
Go
change
figure.
of expectation. It wasn't about the Dilly Bars.
Yeah. Well, there's something about being able to choose. I can relate to that, back in the old day. Here's one of your favorites. I know, chocolate Zanzibar
right?
ice cream.
Chocolate shop.
It's a good one. Daiquiri. I like that direction. I like,
sweet
frozen
treat.
daiquiri. Yep.
Yeah, or frozen treat. Yeah.
Yep. Buster Bars.
I remember those.
It's good.
Yeah.
Peaches and caramel. Culver's
Ooh.
concrete mix.
Ooh.
Wow, that is an
Like
interesting
that.
combo, but I could see that would be really good.
Huh.
Yeah, I wouldn't normally think of that.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, Rachel got a box of dairy-free Dilly Bars today. They are yummy.
Dairy-free. Wow, that is amazing.
Oreo Blizzard. I am a big Blizzard fan. I like. Okay, I think we typed this. We hyped that we were going to share our favorite frozen treats. So I'm going to go with Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Blizzard.
Yeah.
However, I also love Pumpkin Pie Blizzard in October. And last year they came out with a Snickerdoodle Blizzard, which I gained 5 pounds on at least just on that. So what's yours?
Mine would be Brownie Batter Blizzard from.
So you're going Blizzard too?
I'm going Blizzard.
Right.
Yeah, because they're just classic. We grew up with Dairy Queen, so yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, we'll leave these comments open for the next few minutes, and we'll pick a winner that we'll announce next week.
Mike Schroeder says bananas. Is this like an Arrested Development?
The thing about that is there's always money in the banana stand, right?
He probably doesn't even watch Arrested Development. He just likes frozen bananas.
Yeah. There are people who do. I know there are people who do.
Heck yes, I did.
Yeah. So, so next week we're going to be somewhere different, and we hope you'll join us because it'll be kind of a fun thing. We also have another cool reason to be part of the Insider, to be an Escape Adulthood, Adultitis Fighting
This is brand
Insider.
new. He just made this today, guys.
Just made this. It is a coloring sheet. Different is cool with all of the different
Can't wait to color this.
popsicles and treats. This is available in the Adultitis Fighter Arsenal, which is available only to insiders. So all you have to do is go to escapeadulthood.com/insider. You will receive instructions for how to get to the Arsenal. And if you are already an insider, check out any past issue at the very bottom. There's a link to the Arsenal.
This is cute. So could I just trace that push-up and then submit it to be like my art for the week?
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah? No one would know any different.
That's going to be a fun one. I can't wait. Got to break out the markers for that one.
All right. This is what I have to deal with, you guys. I just, every day.
I'm efficient. I'm looking for easy ways to just do life. Where's my Team Kim button? Yeah.
It was just not appropriate to anything. Not appropriate to...
And I'm going on a plane with this guy?
Well, at least we'll be three rows apart, so that'll be a great anniversary trip. See you in 3 hours. All right. Well, you guys, thank you for sharing some time with us. That is it for today's show. Until next time, Adultitis Fighters.
Shine on, spread whimsy, and be awesome.